This just in from Reuters saying that Iranian officials are saying they will discuss limits on uranium enrichment. However, the official quoted his words saying a zero enrichment proposal will be rejected, especially after Israel's attacks.
President Trump will clearly see that. You're right. He has said zero enrichment. He's also talked about unconditional surrender. It doesn't sound like the Iranians are anywhere near that. And I'm confident that the negotiations that continue will be done, as Secretary of State Schultz called it, in the shadow of power.
Unfortunately, we have heard that the U.S. may join this aggression. That would be very unfortunate, and I think that would be very, very dangerous for everybody.
Хотели бы особо предостеречь Вашингтон от военного вмешательства в ситуацию, что стало бы крайне опасным шагом с поистине непредсказуемыми негативными последствиями.
Russia has issued the most frightening warning of the war between Israel and Iran so far, that the world is millimeters from nuclear catastrophe.
We are lost, but we are not forgotten. The Most High God has made us a promise that He will gather us, His scattered people. Hear, Israel. Malachi 3:6. For I am the Lord, I change not. The Lord our God is one. So we will stay awake and we will watch until Israel's restored.
Shalom family, we are looking at a war, obviously. I'm pretty sure you see the news headlines between Israel and Iran, which is Israel and the US and Iran, which spreads even worse than that. Israel, US versus Iran, Russia, and China. It's a different type of nuclear war, but nonetheless, it may be the prelude or beginning of World War III. Not to say things haven't been going that direction for a while now. However, we are closer than we ever have been before. Now, really quickly before we get into this video, make sure you show love and support by clicking that subscribe button. Go ahead and click that drop down arrow and set your notifications to all. Leave a thumbs up and leave a comment down below. This helps in the YouTube algorithm to go ahead and broadcast it to as many people as possible, because they look for videos that are getting a lot of traction. Remember, it's free. It takes nothing but just a short amount of time for you to click that button. Now, in this video, we're going to discuss 3 key points. One being the most anticipated question, and that is, will the U.S. be part of this war? The next point is going to be, what are the plans of Israel and the U.S. in this war? What are they planning to accomplish here? And then the last point will be, will this turn into World War III? Will China and Russia and others get involved in this conflict? And will things go nuclear? So let's get into the first point. Will the U.S. be part of this war? Spoiler alert, they already are.
It is obvious I cannot go to negotiation with the United States when our people are under bombardments, under the support of the United States. We have come, unfortunately, to the conclusion that the United States has been in this aggression from the beginning.
So Iran knows this, and also the synagogue of Satan over there, the fake Israel, has also confirmed they worked with the U.S. to carry out that first strike on the nuclear facilities. And not only that, it's obvious in the tweets of Trump, to where he's saying, we gave you 60 days. Now look what happened. We'll give you a little bit more time and then we'll see what we're going to do. So they already attacked. Will they go deeper in the war? Yes. Why? Because if they don't, Israel is already losing. Anyone who knows and understands about Iran and is not stuck all the way in the 1900s somewhere knows that Iran has had tremendous development in their weapons and their military, and they are capable of flattening Israel.
The Iranian nation will not surrender to anyone in the face of imposition. The punishment that the Iranian nation and our armed forces have inflicted on this evil enemy and are inflicting on it and have plans for the future is a severe punishment and has weakened it. The very fact that its American friends are entering the scene and speaking is a sign of its weakness and a sign of its impotence.
So Israel cannot win the war alone. Israel is already losing if you just actually watch the news closely. Watch others talking about the news instead of the fake propaganda that they want to put there, because politics are so fake to me. You know, they can get hit with the bombs, they can be losing, but no, we're winning. Each side, we're winning. Because if we say we're losing, that's a sign of weakness. If we say we're struck here or there, that is a sign of weakness. So everyone's going to be winning. But if you look at it closely, the fake Israel is losing. So with that, either America doesn't go in and they lose the Israel, they're part of their influence in that region, or they go in and they try to back Israel like they've always done. They go ahead and send aid there. They go ahead and they shoot down missiles, which they're already doing. They are already a part of it. They helped them launch the attack on there. They're obviously saying over and over again, Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. And then, even though they say they have no intent, which again, you can't believe everyone's word. So I'm not saying, oh, Iran said they won't develop nuclear weapons, so they're not going to do it. But according to their investigations, the U.S. investigations, they didn't have the uranium or whatever enriched enough to make nuclear weapons. They weren't pursuing to actually make the nuclear weapons, according to their intel. And this is them saying that.
We have confirmed that Iran does have, even now, enough material for several warheads. But this should not be equated with a nuclear weapon. We do not have, at this point, if you ask me, at this point, any tangible proof that there is a program or a plan to fabricate, to manufacture a nuclear weapon.
So the fact of them saying, okay, we struck because they were going to make a nuclear weapon, it's off the table. They struck because they have an interest. And we're going to get into that in the next point. They have an interest in Iran, and Israel and the U.S. interests are a bit different, but they share the same goal. Now, Trump is supposedly deciding, and he said, oh, I'll give you 2 weeks. So he's supposed to be deciding whether they're going to enter it or not. But they're moving all their ships and everything over there towards Iran and Israel. They're calling for Iran's total surrender. Now, Iran has already made it clear, and they said, we're not backing down. Another thing is, if the U.S. and Israel, if they don't work together to go ahead and do a show of force or power and somehow get or make it seem like Iran surrendered, then it'll make them look weak, and they don't want to look weak. So if Iran said, we're not backing down, this is going to be on our terms, whatever it is, and the U.S. is saying, this is going to be on our terms, but then they can't afford to back down. They got to beat their chest all the way, even if they got to shoot bombs.
President Trump will clearly see that. You're right. He has said zero enrichment. He's also talked about unconditional surrender. It doesn't sound like the Iranians are anywhere near that. And I'm confident that the negotiations that continue will be done, as Secretary of State Schultz called it, in the shadow of power.
Let's get into the next point. What does the U.S. and Israel stand to gain here? What do they want? So Israel is afraid of Iran. They know that Iran is a threat, that it can take them out. So they're afraid. So they want to take out Iran. If they could, they would wipe the whole place off of the map. But since they can't, then they have to use another strategy, which we're going to get into. Now, what does the U.S. stand to gain? The U.S. wants the oil. It's simple. So you got Iran. Iran, Russia, and China, they're in bed together. They're partners. Iran supplies oil to China. Iran also supplies this oil to Russia. So if the U.S. can get in there and get control of the oil, guess who stops getting the oil? China, Russia. Because if you look, they're already imposing sanctions and everything else. Sanctions, tariffs, heavily on China, heavily on Russia. So if they can get in and stop that oil flow and send it over here to the U.S., then they get wealthier. then they control more. So then what's the game plan? Because the U.S. says, oh, we don't want a full-scale war, nor can they afford it. But they say, we don't want a full-scale war. We just want them to comply. And you have Trump saying, oh, I believe things can be peaceful between Iran and the U.S. I believe we can come to some type of agreement and deal in the future. We just can't under the current regime. And then you got Israel. We got to get rid of the current regime. So that means right now we can't do it. They won't do a deal with us. They're fighting against us. But if we can get rid of this regime, then guess what? We're going to be in control. Why? Because we're going to stick our puppet in there. So you got Trump sending a death threat to the so-called supreme leader that's over there. And that's what they call him, the supreme leader. And then you got Israel saying, we're going to kill the supreme leader. Just straight out saying it. Trump said, we're not going to kill you for now, but we know where you are. And then Israel is saying, we're going to go and kill you. See, they're already complicit. So it's not a matter of if they're going to enter the war. They're already there.
Amid intensifying calls in Israel for regime change and US President Donald Trump openly hinting at eliminating Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei.
Defense Minister of Israel has reacted after the hospital attack that we reported earlier on, saying that the dictator Khamenei is a modern-day Hitler who has carved out on his banner the destruction of the state of Israel and is enslaving all of his country's resources to advance this terrible goal. He cannot continue to exist. The Israeli policy is now the full elimination of Ali Khamenei. They said being able to take out the supreme leader is one of the goals of this war, and they are not going to stop regardless of anything else that happens.
So the plan is take out the head, the so-called supreme leader, take out those of power near him, and then place their puppet in. And then who is going to be the puppet? Well, someone has already surfaced on the media, and that's the so-called crown prince that was supposedly exiled out of Iran. But he pops up, hey, I think this is a good thing for Iran. The fact that you know, gonna kill the people there, whatever it is, and it's gonna go under your rule, whatever. Yes, put me back there. And then, of course, we're gonna have good relations and everything.
Now the son of the late Shah, His Royal Highness Reza Pahlavi, who has been in exile, is advocating for a new future for Iran. He says he believes that the moment is now.
So he's all for the destruction of Iran. However it takes place, he's fine with it as long as he gets there, and that's their puppet. This puppet is going to do agreements and deals in the future with US and Israel. This is their plan. If they just take him out, then they believe they don't got to go in that prolonged full-scale war. But the thing is, China and Russia, do you expect them to sit by idly? And then you got the other groups like the Houthis, the Hezbollah, etc. Are they just going to sit by idly once you do that?
Amid intensifying calls in Israel for regime change and US President Donald Trump openly hinting at eliminating Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, the Kremlin has issued a stern response, drawing a clear red line against such escalation.
So it's more than likely not going to go as they planned. And then they want to bomb the nuclear sites. And Russia is warning heavily against that. Don't do that. If you do that, it's going to have catastrophic consequences. Whether that means that he's going to attack them directly or China's going to attack them directly, it may not be that. It may be he's referring to nuclear. If they hit that power plant, then it is stated that it can be like the Chernobyl disaster. And in the Chernobyl disaster, when they hit that nuclear power plant, then large amounts of radiation went into the atmosphere. And a ton of people died, and there was a lot of health issues, and then it also affected the economy.
Конечно, если будет нанесен удар по действующему первому энергоблоку, это будет сравнимо и с Чернобылем. Сравнимо с Чернобылем, с фусильной катастрофа, с разрушением ядерного реактора, со всеми вытекающими последствиями, допустительно для любой. То есть мы здесь едины совершенно всей мировой семьей, СНГ, естественно, в том числе заодно, что близко нельзя приближать оружие к действующему ядерному оружию.
So it has repercussions if they do such, but they still say they have the intent to do such. But if they can take out that leader now, then maybe they can avoid doing that, because then that nuclear energy will be their nuclear energy. And then you got to look at something else. They already moved their ships, the U.S. already moved their ships away from the power plant in Bushehr, and this is the power plant that they're saying if you strike that, it's going to be catastrophic. So they already moved their ships. They had their ships located in Bahrain, and they moved it away from the power plant. So that says they got full intents to go ahead and strike that. So then their ships and stuff is not within that radius of the aftermath of what they do. So in addition to that, speaking on nuclear, if the U.S. doesn't publicly get involved and the fake Israel is just left to fend for itself, well, they got nuclear weapons. If you think that they're going to let their power just go away, you think that they're just going to let themselves get killed or whatever without going ahead and pressing that nuke, you got to look at the nature of the monsters. Look at the nature of the beasts. They kill anything and everything they dislike. Why? To gain power. They want the most power in that area. They want to rule and control. So if you're taking away the power of the beast, of course, he don't care. He's going to go out with a blast. He's going to go ahead and shoot off that nuclear bomb, because what does he have to lose at that point? And going into the last point, will China and Russia get involved in this matter as well? So again, the U.S. states that Iran needs to make a deal. Iran needs to totally surrender. Iran needs to get rid of all its nuclear. Iran is saying, we're not getting rid of our nuclear. We have the right to do so. We're not backing down. Russia states that they are helping Iran with their nuclear program. They also stated that they have over 200 of their experts in Iran near that power plant that they want to destroy. So then that would directly affect Russia as well. And again, they have an alliance and they trade oil. It's important. And then China receives the oil as well. So they have interest there. So will China and Russia get involved? It is very, very likely, because again, this affects them. And it is reported that China has already sent Iran some missiles, some stuff to build missiles, more missiles. So China has already put a foot forward. And then Russia is giving you all the hints.
Хотели бы особо предостеречь Вашингтон от военного вмешательства в ситуацию, что стало бы крайне опасным шагом с поистине непредсказуемыми негативными последствиями.
Russia has issued the most frightening warning of the war between Israel and Iran so far, that the world is millimeters from nuclear catastrophe.
Are you concerned that we are heading into World War III in any way?
It does concern me. And there is no irony about it. This is no joking. A lot of conflict potential is out there, and it's growing.
So you're looking at the next world war, possibly the final one. And we know scripture tells us there's going to be wars and rumors of war. Don't concern yourself with these things. However, you need to keep watch. Why? You need to keep watch for your soul, because you can't fix these events that's happening. These events will likely affect you in some way. However, what's important is the next life. How did you care for your soul? did you tend to your soul so you can make it in the Most High's kingdom, so you can have the Most High's protection? That's what's important right there, because no matter what's going on, if your soul is straight, you'll be straight if the Most High is willing. So this can affect the global economy because, again, war is not cheap. If Russia gets into it, it's going to affect the economy. If China gets into it, it's going to affect their economy. If the U.S. gets into it, it's going to affect that economy. And then if Iran pulls one of its cards, and that is to close down the Strait of Hormuz, which 20% of the world's oil goes through, it's going to affect the economy globally. So it's going to affect you. Inflation is going to go insane. You think it's insane now? Then you're going to have, as mentioned in the scriptures, to where you're going to be doing a day's work for a loaf of bread. And then may the Most High God carry us through these trying times. But don't expect to be aided. Don't expect to be helped if you don't expect to follow the commands, laws, and statutes of the Most High God of Israel. If you're worshiping and calling on other gods, whether that's an actual deity or whether that's your lust and your passions, something you're doing more than serving the Most High God of Israel. Because anything you do more than that becomes worship. So be careful. Be careful of all the distractions that's going on, especially right now while we're in these end times, these perilous times, to where sexuality is running rampant, gayness is running rampant. It is what it is, like the times of Sodom and Gomorrah. And all type of entertainment and distraction. Don't get distracted. Keep watch. If you let yourself get distracted, then you're gonna miss it. You're gonna miss when the Most High God comes. You don't want to be the ones without oil for your lamp. You want to be fully prepared, up and waiting. You don't want to be the ones that sleep. Anyways, I'm making this video to give you an update on what's going on. These are the signs of the time. We watch what's happening and what's going on, because this is telling you how close you are, and you're close. Okay, that pretty much brings this video to a close. Don't forget to subscribe, share, like, comment. Share it as much as you can so it can reach as many people as possible. And if the Most High God is willing, just an update on my mic. Right now I'm just recording it just straight from the phone. I found an app where I can just record that was better than my last one, because the last app, it was like cutting out. So if the Most High God is willing, that's my family. Shalom should have a microphone. Anyways, shalom my family. And when I say family, that is anyone who is worshiping the Most High God of Israel alone. Anyone who is striving to please the Most High and keep his commands, laws, and statutes.